Hi guys, and a very warm welcome to the 16th of May. And today we are staying on the Loire Valley to talk about all things poulet fumé. So it's our second producer-led session of the month. And we've got one more session tomorrow talking about Chenin from Vouvray. So I'm going to hand over in just a moment to Melanie and invite her to share her presentation. Melanie, there we go.
Yeah. Are you okay? Yeah.
Perfect.
Is it
Yep.
okay?
Yep. See it perfectly. Thank you so much. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. So, hi everyone. I've seen that you are many people are connected, and I would like to thank you for your invitation. I welcome you to our family estate today. So, I am Mélanie Masson, and with my brother Pierre, we are the seventh generation of winemakers in the estate. Let me show you our family house where our mother and grandmother were born. It's a girl story here. Our cellar and wine shop are located right in the heart of the village of Pouilly-sur-Loire. So Pouilly-sur-Loire is a small village located in center Loire Valley, facing the hill of Sancerre, 15 kilometers away. From an administrative point of view, we belong to the Burgundy region, but from a viticultural point of view, Pouilly-Fumé is always to be found in the Loire area of the wine guides. So the village of Pouilly-sur-Loire exactly stands in the middle of the Loire River. As you can see in the center, an engraved stone on the bridge indicates that, sorry for this, some customers are coming in the shop. So this stone indicates that we are just 496 kilometers in between the start and the end of the Loire River. This bridge is also the link and the border between the Burgundy region and the Central Loire region. So when we cross the river, we arrive in Sancerre. And very often our visitors ask us what is the difference between Pouilly-Fumé and Sancerre. It's not such an easy question to answer because the grapes are the same and the terroir is similar. If you accept the fact that you can find some red wine in Sancerre and not in Pouilly-Fumé. So the size is different. Sancerre is almost 3 times bigger as Pouilly-Fumé, with more family working in the vines, more wine villages, and more bottle produce. On a consumer point of view, UK remained the first importer of our Pouilly-Fumé wine on a general point of view. When for our neighbor Sancerre, this is the United States of America, which represents almost 40% of the volume which they export. Another question which is very frequently asked by our visitors is the difference between Pouilly-Fumé and Pouilly-Fuissé. So here you have more differences because Pouilly-Fuissé is a Chardonnay grape when we are a Sauvignon Blanc, and their production surface is smaller. We don't have twice, but almost. But still, we both produce white wine, dry wine, complex wine, which sometimes can be substituted for. After these short introductions about our differences with our neighbors, we can have a short look at the history of Pouilly-Fumé. So the first sign appears in the 5th century with the monks' vineyards. Then in the 17th century, the new Canal de Briare, which you can see on this picture, allowed the wine to be sold in Paris, and which in the 19th century was also possible thanks to the nation's railways. After the phylloxera, the delimitation of the production area was born in 1929, and the AOC was obtained in 1937. So the vineyard of Puy-Fumé currently extends over 3,400 acres, always on the right bank of the Loire, as on the left. This is Sancerre. So we benefit from a mild oceanic climate, and the Loire River really plays a major role in regulating our temperature here. Very often it protects the wine from difficulties, climate difficulties. The terroir, as you already know, I'm sure, is a crucial data for our wines. And here we can distinguish 4 types of soil, 4 types, 2 different kind of limestone soil, Oxfordian limestone and Portlandian limestone. You also have Kimmeridgian marls, so it's a white clay and small fossilized shells, mainly oysters, and the flint soil. So we can have a look at the consequences on the palate, depending on where the Sauvignon Blanc is grown. This is something very interesting. Let's start with the limestone soil. The limestone soil is a very frequent and typical soil, which usually gives you easygoing, fresh, aromatic wine, but not the most complex. Probably the most famous is the flint, which we call here the silex. So despite its fame, it's not the biggest surface. It's the smallest cultivated in Puy-Fumé. And of course, it brings minerality to our wines. Usually wines are straight. They can sometimes be a little sharp when they are young, but their aging potential is really great, and their complexity is high also. Last but not least, and this is the soil of your cuvée Villa Paulus, this is the Kimmeridgian marl. Kimmeridgian marl, this word is unpronounceable for French people. It comes from the Kimmeridge Bay in Dorset. They are the eldest soil, where they were formed in the Jurassic times between -200 and -145 million of years. Usually they give complex, rich, round, and deep wine, and they have an excellent aging potential. So they are very much represented in Puy, and it may explain why Puy-Fumé often tends to be more complex than their cousin of Sancerre. So this is a geological map of the AOC Puy-Fumé. This is here the village of Puy-sur-Loire. You can see how close is the river from the vineyard. So that's all what is classified AOC. And so the Villa Paulus, the Kimmeridgian marl, you can find them all around the village here. That's the orange color along the Roman road, which is symbolized there. All the pink small area here on the top of the hill, this is the flint area, the silex, and the light and dark gray, this is all the chalky limestone soil. So these 3 terroirs will definitely give their aromatic signature to the wine of Puy-Fumé. So what is very characteristic of a Puy-Fumé? Here you have on screen a description which comes from the 1937 decree. So the typicity of the flavors and aroma are described already at that time to be citrus fruit aroma, white flowers on the nose, sometimes varietal notes, minerality. It has a great complexity, generosity, but also finesse, freshness, sorry, and elegance. So this is today still true. We were asked about the rules. So this decree also set the rules which we must respect as wine growers if we want each year to be authorized to call our wine Puyi Fumé. So as you can see, we are in France, so these rules are numerous. Among them, you have the density of plants. Minimum is 6,000 plants by hectare for 1 hectare. Of course, irrigation is prohibited. The strategical dates like harvest, commercialization date, all this is very, all dates are imposed. It's labeling is rule. Many things are ruled by this AOC decree. So I talked a lot about the wines, but behind the wines, you have people. So I need also to present you who are the wine producers. Today, my brother, Pierre, and we are the 7th generation at the head of the estate after our parents. So the team totalizes 10 permanent workers, and Masson-Blondelet comes from our mom, Michelle. Michelle, she settled alone as a wine grower in 1972. Then she married Jean-Michel Masson, so in 1975, and that's why they created Masson-Blondelet. So these 2 pictures on top show you our family house, which I showed you in the first slide, but this was 1 century ago. So the man here, the boss with the bear and the hat, was the great grandfather of my mother. And the press, which you can see here, you can still see it in the garden now, but it's still there. After the people, let's present you our philosophy. As you know, quality starts in the vines. I'm sure I'm not the first one to tell you this, but that's definitely the truth. So our philosophy has always been to try to be pioneer, and this is what we did in 2002 when we stopped totally using any herbicide on our whole cultivated surface. So how do? We have to pluck or wood the soil. So here you can see baby plants, and since their first age, they are regularly put to oblige the roots to develop deep inside the soil. For instance, during very hot summer, like in 2003 or more recently, regular plugging ensures the vines to go very deep into the soil and not to lack of water. So of course they're gonna suffer of the heat, but not from too much from the lack of water. In 2003, we also banished totally the insecticide, not even organic insecticide. And we have not been using any chemical fertilizer for more than 45 years now, because our parents, Michel and Jean-Michel, they never used any. So we just had to continue on this choice. Chemical treatments are reduced to a bare minimum here in order to protect first the soil and then the plants, because that's what we have, which is the most important. As you can notice on all these pictures, which of course have only been taken in our Masson-Blondelet wines, there is no plastic bag or no cover to protect the baby plants from herbicide. And this is something which is still very rare in Puyi, because once you've done this, there is no possible going back. So here again, no plastic cover. So from the vineyard, let's jump now to the winery. And in the winery, we work with three main principles. First principle is the use of gravity, because our cellar is built on 3 levels and 2 of them are buried inside the earth. So the second principle is cold settling, and also we are it's very important for us to keep the natural fermentation CO2 as long as possible. So on ground floor, the grapes are squeezed by 3 pneumatic presses. This is kind of luxury, but it also allows us to be very quick when it's necessary. Because I remember you that we only have 22 hectares of production. So the juice goes naturally down to the level -1 without any pumping in stainless steel tank, where they are must settled thanks to cold settling. Then the clear juice are dispatched in -2 levels, and stainless steel tanks are all equipped there also with devices which allow us to control fermentation temperature tank by tank. So to sum up, our philosophy is to demand the best in the cellar, in the vines, everywhere. So very often we are lucky, and it's awarded by when we receive orders also from the best. So to give you an example, we proudly served British Airways, Emirates on their first class only, of course. And last year we were served by the glass in Hôtel de Crillon in Paris. So this is one of the best awards also. But we also have more regular awards. So from 1980 to 2022, the estate, the wines won 100 medals. Many press and guides are regularly mentioning our wines. And the most recent was in Decanter last summer. We received 96 points for 2 of our cuvées and 90 points for the Villa Paulus. So it's probably the time now to speak you more about your cuvée, so the Villa Paulus. It was the name of the village of Pouilly-sur-Loire, Villa Paulus, la ferme de Paul, Pouilly-sur-Loire, in Roman times. So that's why I put you this picture, because most of our vines are planted on Kimmeridgian soil, are located around this Roman road, which is still visible today. That's why our parents named this cuvée Villa Paulus, thanks to the Roman time. So it's 4.5 hectare wide. So we produce roughly 30,000 bottles each year of Villa Paulus. So it's our star cuvée, if we can say so. The age or the vines are from 25 to 40 years old. Only, as we already saw on Kimmeridgian marl, so white clay and fossilized shells, mainly oysters. And so these soils, they give the complexity, richness, deep and aromatic wines with a great aging potential. So Puy Fumé is very expressive in the mouth without taking itself too seriously. So it's a wine that does not tire the palate. You can drink it. So it can be a real treat with many dishes. And because Richard asked me to look at ideas of food and wine pairings, I searched on your website and I found some salivating recipes, which could be great matches with Villa Paulus. Of course, you have oysters, tuna, sea bass, prawns, risotto, cheese. I saw you have many cheeses. This all go very well with our Puy Fumé. So to be more precise, I made a list and I selected my particular crush. But really, I think sometimes it's nice to give the choice to people between red and white for cheese, and that's a suggestion. Just. I hope I've not been too long. I thank you very much, and I will be happy to answer your questions if you have.
I will open the floor to questions, but firstly, thank you so much, Ndima. That was a really, really nice summary presentation there. So thank you so much. I suppose two things for me. One thing is you showed a slide there with lots of different logos of Emirates, and I just noticed that the Hotel de Van logo is missing from that page. I'm sure I wasn't the only one that noticed that. But seriously, second thing is the difference between the US being the predominant market for Sancerre and UK for Pouilly Fumé. Is that for you personally, or is that for the two producing appellations as a whole?
It's true for both, but I suppose we are maybe representative. But this is the figures that I show were the national figures. I mean
yeah, the figures of the AOC.
Exactly.
Really interesting. Any other questions from anyone on the call? Erin's burning to ask something. I can just see it.
I am actually. So Melanie, you talked about the cold settling and a long fermentation process for the Sauvignon Blanc. Can you give us an idea of what kind of outcome that provides to the final product in the wine?
I have to, yes. I also have to make you notice that we do long vinification, which is not so common for a Loire Valley wine. And many, I'm sure, of your competitors or friends, colleagues, they probably serve today vintage 23, for instance. That's not our strategy. It's not our choice. We prefer to have long élevage, long winemaking process when the wine can nourish itself on the finest lees. Of course, to do this, you need to have very good lees. But we try to have fresh and good lees. So cold setting, of course, this is very important when we do it to have a good qualitative lees. And then the choice is to have a long élevage. This word is missing in my English vocabulary. I'm so sorry, but I think you probably understand what I mean. It's when the wine grow like a child in the tank. Matt, can you help me on that?
Yeah, élevage is that long time spent on lees aging in the barrel and developing complexity and having the influence from those dead yeast cells, which helps to bring salinity, a bit more texture, a bit more definition, layers, makes it more multi-layered. Yeah.
So for the poulet fumé that we list, how long is that lees aging?
It's 1 year minimum.
Right. Okay.
1 year minimum. That's why you just started with vintage 2022.
Yeah. Okay. Just before we wrap up there, are there any other questions?
Very quickly, Melanie, one of your neighbours in Sancerre suggested that some of the recent vintages have been challenging, particularly climatically. Have you sort of experienced those challenges as well?
Yeah, sure. It started a little bit earlier in Puy-Fumé. The frost injured Sancerre and many other vineyards areas in 21, so just a few years ago, and it started only with Puy-Fumé in 2016. The 27th of April, we had a dramatic night because we had rain the day before, and this rain was terrible because, in fact, when you have winds, it's okay to have spring frost. It's not, of course, the best, but it's okay. But when you have a rain and a big rain just before the frost, we realized afterward that was what was the biggest damage. It was more terrible. And of course in 21 this dramatical event appeared for the first time in Sancerre, and you probably heard about it, I'm sure. And this year, I have to say, this spring, just a few weeks ago, we lost the baby plant. I talked a little bit about the baby plant because they are so fragile. So they can suffer from two things: dryness. This is very bad. We have to take care about them so with a great care, and dryness, but the frost is also dramatic. So definitely disruptive climate. I am not speaking about a change of climate. I'm speaking about disruption, about violence, because this is what we can. I mean, Chablis is only 1 hour drive from Puy-Fumé, and you've seen, I'm sure you've seen some terrible image. Okay, it's only a quarter of the surface, but it's still too much, because the thing where the hail were balls, like ping pong balls. This is so, I mean, can you imagine on your it's terrible. Yeah. And there is nothing we can do about it. Just, you know, this is Mother Nature, but currently Mother Nature is a bit tough with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. For sake of time, I'm gonna just wrap up there. I'll leave the call open if anyone has any final questions. But as I started off the session today, you know, we are coming towards the end of the Loire Valley Week with just one more session tomorrow. It was really interesting to listen to Poulet Fumé today and Sancerre yesterday, you know, and the similarities between the two regions is obviously they're so geographically close. But tomorrow's a bit different, talking about Chenin from Vouvray area, which is the central area of Loire. So yeah, I'll end the call there. Melanie, thank you once again so much indeed for your time, and everyone have a lovely day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Bye bye, everyone.
Merci.
Thank you.